Marcus Roberts was a successful businessman who owned a large manufacturing company in the small town of Oakwood. To the outside world, he appeared to have it all: wealth, status, and a beautiful family with his wife Sophia and two daughters Lily and Emma. However, behind the facade of his stately home, Marcus harbored a troubling desire that was slowly poisoning his family. Ever since Lily was born 13 years ago, Marcus had desperately wanted a son to carry on his family's legacy and inherit his business empire one day. When Sophia gave birth to another daughter, Emma, 8 years later, Marcus struggled to hide his disappointment. "I'm so sorry, darling," Sophia had said weakly from the hospital bed, tears in her eyes as she held the newborn Emma. "I know how much you wanted a boy." Marcus forced a tight smile and gave his wife a stiff hug. "It's all right, dear. The important thing is you both are healthy." But inside, his heart was sinking with the realization his dream of having an heir was slipping away. Over the years, Marcus's frustration and resentment grew. He lavished expensive gifts and opportunities on his daughters, but struggled to connect with them in a meaningful way. Lily was bright and studious, while rambunctious Emma seemed to live for playtime and games. Try as he might, Marcus just couldn't relate to the interests and behaviors of young girls. "Why couldn't one of you have been a boy?" he grumbled one evening after another failed attempt at father-daughter bonding time. Sophia pulled him aside, throwing a protective arm around the girls. "Marcus, that's an awful thing to say. They're our children, our wonderful girls. We're supposed to love them unconditionally." "I do love them," Marcus snapped, pushing Sophia's hand away, his voice lowering to a dangerous tone. "But you know as well as I do that my company, my legacy, everything I've built needs to be passed down to a son when I'm gone. That's just the way it has to be." Sophia's kind eyes turned sad, knowing there was no reasoning with her husband once he dug his heels in on this issue. She pulled Lily and Emma close, shielding them from their father's bitter disappointment. The next year, Sophia became pregnant again. Marcus was overjoyed at the possibility of finally having the heir he desired. But his mood soured instantly upon Sophia giving birth to another daughter, little Sarah. "I don't understand. How can you keep having girls?" Marcus yelled in the delivery room, his face flushed with anger. The nurse tried to calm him as Sophia cradled the newborn Sarah. "Sir, please try to use your inside voice. Your wife has just been through a difficult labor. Don't tell me to be quiet," Marcus shouted, making Sarah jump and cry out. He pointed an accusing finger at Sophia's exhausted form. "She did this to me on purpose somehow. She's derailing my family's lineage out of spite." "Marcus, stop it," Sophia pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "You know that's not true. I can't control the gender." Furious and unlistening to reason, Marcus stormed out of the room, leaving his wife and newborn daughter behind without so much as a backward glance. From that day forward, his treatment of Sophia and his 3 daughters took a deeply troubling turn. What had started as resentment towards the lack of a male heir turned into outright abuse and cruelty by Marcus. He constantly berated and criticized Sophia, calling her a failure of a wife for not giving him a son. Ugly insults and even shoves became commonplace, until eventually Marcus's actions escalated to physically striking his wife over the smallest perceived infraction or slight. Lily, now a teenager, tried to shield her younger sisters Emma and Sarah from the worst of their father's rages as much as possible. But there was little she could do to help her mother Sophia, who was too terrified to fight back or leave. "He'll kill me if I try to go," Sophia cried one night after Marcus had given her a black eye during one of his drunken outbursts. 8-year-old Emma trembled in the corner, while young Sarah wailed in fright from the shouting and violence. Lily held her sobbing mother tightly. "It's okay, Mom. Maybe once he has a son, he'll be the way he used to. You'll see." She was trying to be hopeful, but Lily knew their family was breaking apart, with Marcus's hatred and abuse steadily pushing them all to a breaking point. Around this time, rumors began to circulate around town that Marcus had taken a mistress, a pretty, 20-something woman named Jasmine. Confronted by Sophia about the allegations, Marcus flew into a rage. "So now you're going to nag me over mere gossip," he shouted, backing his cowering wife into a corner. "You're just looking for an excuse for why no son came after you, you pathetic, lying wench." Marcus's hand struck Sophia's face with a resounding slap. She crumpled to the floor, clutching her reddened cheek and sobbing as Marcus stormed away. Lily rushed to help her fallen mother, cradling her as the other two sisters looked on with tear-filled eyes. This was the worst their father had ever been. Only a few weeks later, Marcus came strolling arrogantly into the house with his mistress Jasmine hanging off his arm in front of the entire family. There was no hiding or discretion, he was openly parading her in their home like a trophy, not caring about the devastated looks on Sophia and the girls' faces. Sophia's eyes went wide with shock and hurt at the bold betrayal. Before anyone could stop her, she charged at Jasmine and slapped her hard across the face. "Get out of my house, you home-wrecking whore!" Sophia cried, anger and anguish breaking through years of built-up fear towards Marcus. The calculating Jasmine simply smirked, knowing she had already won. Marcus's cruelty, fueled by his bruised male ego, swiftly kicked in. With frightening speed and ferocity, he turned and launched himself at Sophia, grabbing her by the hair and throwing her viciously across the room. She crashed into the side table, frozen in terror as Marcus rained blow after blow down upon her helpless form as their daughters watched in abject horror. That was the tragic breaking point where the Roberts family shattered completely beyond repair. Lily sat numb with shock in the waiting room of Oakwood Hospital, her two younger sisters Emma and Sarah huddled tightly against her. Just hours earlier, their lives had been shattered when their father Marcus viciously beat their mother Sophia in an explosive rage. Lily could still hear her mother's pained cries and see the sickening blows landed by Marcus's fists. It was a miracle Sophia was still alive after the brutal assault, even if she remained unconscious and hooked up to a tangle of hospital machines. The kind doctor had promised to call the police and have Marcus arrested, but Lily watched as his resolve faltered upon learning just how wealthy and influential the successful businessman was in their small town. "I'll have to look into this further," the doctor mumbled, avoiding eye contact with the three sisters as he walked away in clear fear of crossing someone as powerful as their father. Lily's stomach twisted sickly, the harsh reality setting in, with their mother potentially dying or permanently injured. They were now at the complete mercy of Marcus and the vile, scheming woman he had brought into their lives as his mistress. Jasmine sat in a waiting room chair, filing her nails nonchalantly and glancing over to smirk at the frightened girls every so often. In that moment, Lily knew their lives would never be the same. Sure enough, several days later the doctor returned with the devastating news that Sophia was being pulled off life support. She had slipped into an irreversible coma and was essentially brain dead from the vicious beating Marcus had subjected her to. With tears streaming down her face, Lily watched helplessly as her mother's broken form was unhooked from the machines keeping her alive, flatlining within minutes. Just like that, Sophia was gone from their lives forever. Jasmine wasted no time that very night asserting her new role as matriarch of the household. As the girls cried themselves to sleep, utterly unmoored by their profound loss, they awoke to find all of their belongings stripped from their rooms and piled haphazardly in the hallway. "What's going on? Where are we going?" young Sarah asked tremulously, clutching her tattered stuffed rabbit. A sharp slap across the face was Jasmine's cold response. "You don't ask the questions around here anymore, you little brats." "I do." From there, the systematic demoralization and abuse of the three sisters began. Jasmine treated them as indentured servants, forcing them to take on all the cooking, cleaning, and other household chores from before sunrise until late at night. Any mistake or hint of talk-back earned a swift beating or having what little food they were rationed taken away entirely as punishment. "This'll teach you worthless little ankle-biters some respect," Jasmine sneered as she watched hungry Sarah collapse from exhaustion after hours of scrubbing floors with a toothbrush. If the girls dared to raise their mistreatment with Marcus, he either didn't see it or turned a blind eye. So enamored was he with Jasmine's ability to finally produce the son he desperately wanted as his heir. Indeed, Jasmine quickly became pregnant and played up her expectations of birthing Marcus a boy at every opportunity. "You see, dear," she cooed, running a hand along her growing belly while grinning poisonously at the malnourished, overworked sisters. "This is going to be the son you've longed for. One who will carry on your empire and everything you've built, not like these three useless rejects." Perhaps most harrowing for Lily was the sound of the vicious beatings and assaults Marcus continued inflicting upon her younger sisters, when Jasmine spun her web of lies and manipulation. Curled up in the cramped, unfinished basement they had been exiled to as sleeping quarters, Lily held Emma and Sarah's shaking forms tightly and tried to muffle the noise by covering their ears. But still the sounds of their screams and cries filtered through as Marcus took out years of pent-up resentment and cruelty, egged on by Jasmine's vile taunts about how they were all expendable failures producing more useless girls. The only thin ray of hope for Lily was an overheard conversation one night, after a particularly savage beating that indicated Jasmine was not being fully truthful. In fact, she had ulterior designs that went well beyond just seizing control of the household. "Once I've locked this pathetic fool down and he signs everything over to me and my son, we need to move forward with phase 2, Lily heard Jasmine's muffled, conspiratorial tone through the basement door. "Marcus needs to have a permanent accident. And those three brats can't be allowed to get in the way or sniff out what we're doing." Lily's blood froze at the calculating, sinister plot being hatched by the two scheming voices in the living room. Not only was Jasmine aiming to take total control of Marcus's wealth and status, but she also planned to orchestrate his murder once her claws were dug in sufficiently. And worse, she viewed Lily and her sisters as impediments to her grasping ambition, clearly aiming to dispose of them as well in order to claim everything with her unborn son. From that moment on, Lily knew their long torment had evolved into a matter of life and death. As soon as she was able, she began making careful plans to escape the household's escalating nightmare while doing everything in her power to conceal her intentions from the increasingly watchful and abusive Jasmine. "I won't let her hurt you two anymore," Lily whispered fiercely one night as she bound Emma and Sarah's wounds and bruises inflicted by their stepmother's cruel hand. "We're getting out of here, no matter what. I promise." Emma and Sarah nodded shakily, determination glinting through the fear in their eyes. No matter how much pain and terror Jasmine continued subjecting them to, The three sisters remained unbroken in their will to eventually find freedom and live out from under the shadows of their father and his monstrous new bride. Lily knew their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. Ever since overhearing the chilling plot by her stepmother Jasmine to have her father Marcus killed once she gave birth to the son he so desperately wanted, Jasmine had become increasingly volatile and violent. The steady stream of beatings and deprivations inflicted upon Lily and her younger sisters Emma and Sarah worsened by the day, as if Jasmine could sense they were onto her murderous scheme. Lily was routinely cornered and interrogated about any whispers or conversations she might have overheard, with a refusal to answer earning her a vicious slap or being locked in the unfinished basement without food for days. "You're hiding something from me, you little brat," Jasmine hissed through clenched teeth, flecks of spittle hitting Lily's bruised face. "Once I have my son, you and your worthless sisters are as good as dead if you don't start talking." Despite the escalating threats and abuse, Lily remained steadfastly silent, knowing that protecting Emma and Sarah was her main priority. While their father Marcus occasionally chastised Jasmine for going too far with the punishments, he ultimately sided with his pregnant wife-to-be, utterly enamored by her guarantees of finally producing his long-awaited heir. Deep down, Lily knew her father's callousness and cowardice stemmed from the same repressed fear and insecurity that had poisoned him against her mother Sophia during those final years. There would be no intervention or saving grace from Marcus. They were truly alone in needing to escape this nightmare. Lily's planning shifted into overdrive after Jasmine's shower of taunts about being unwanted rejects made Sarah break down one night, curling up in a sobbing ball of defeat in their dingy basement quarters. "She's right, we're just garbage," the young girl cried, hugging her tattered stuffed rabbit. "Why did Mommy and Daddy stop loving us? What did we do wrong?" Lily quickly gathered her little sister into a fierce embrace, Emma hovering protectively nearby. "Listen to me, it's not your fault at all. We did nothing wrong, this is all because of her evil." Lily stroked Sarah's matted hair soothingly, her own tears forming at how thoroughly Jasmine had demoralized and psychologically tortured the youngest sibling. "That horrible woman just wants us to feel this way so it's easier for her to get rid of us. But I'll never, ever let that happen. You two are my entire world and I'll always protect you no matter what, I promise." Reinvigorated with determination, Lily began stockpiling any tiny scraps of food she could sneak away from their meager rations when Jasmine wasn't looking. She stuffed granola bars, crackers, and bottled water into an old backpack, counting down the days until Jasmine finally gave birth and the chaos that would inevitably follow. That would be their moment to escape this hellish existence. At last, the night finally came when Jasmine's piercing screams echoed through the house, the unmistakable sounds of labor. Marcus rushed around in a panic, scrambling to gather their things for the hospital while Jasmine unleashed a torrent of profanity between contractions. "You two better be good while we're gone, or I'll make you wish you were never born." She threatened at Lily and her sisters huddled in the basement, sweat pouring down her contorted face. "Just go and have your son already, you psycho." Lily shouted back, incensed at the woman's unrepentant cruelty right up until the end. It was a small act of defiance, but one that made Emma and Sarah smile despite their fear of what lay ahead. The hulking form of Marcus turned towards the basement stairs, his face purpled with rage before another agonized scream from Jasmine made him wheel around and rush out to the car. This was their chance. Lily gathered the provisions she had stored, tightly gripping Emma and Sarah's hands as she led them up the basement stairs and out of the house they had endured so much torment inside. The cool night air was a balm on their shattered spirits as they fled blindly away from the property, leaving the opulent home and all its horrors behind them. They walked until their feet were raw and bleeding, taking turns sharing the backpack's few provisions and sparse water. Over the next 2 days, they tried to navigate the safest path out of Oakwood and away from their malign father and stepmother's clutches. On the third night of their escape, feverish from dehydration, the three sisters collapsed in an alleyway just as their food and water supplies entirely ran out. Lily held Emma and Sarah tightly to her, trying to keep their shivering forms warm even as the full despair of their hopeless situation washed over her. I'm so sorry, she wept, angry at herself for failing her little sisters and breaking the promise to protect them. I tried so hard to get us away. That's when the old, kindly voice calling out jolted Lily from her self-pity. You poor dears. What in heaven's name are children doing out here alone at night? An elderly woman in a tattered shawl emerged from the shadows, a look of urgent concern on her weathered features as she rushed towards them. Lily prepared to flee again until the woman gently touched her arm. Easy there, it's all right. I'm not going to hurt you. Tell me, where are your parents? You must be terribly lost. Lily exchanged a glance with Emma and Sarah before replying with the half-truth that had been their cover story. Our mother just passed away. And we had to get away from our terrible father before he did something worse to us. The woman's face creased with immeasurable sadness as she looked at the trio's emaciated forms and haunted eyes, which spoke of unspeakable trauma. You poor, brave children. You've no idea the horrors you've endured, but you had such courage to persevere. Tears streaked down Lily's face, the emotional dam finally bursting at experiencing this simple stranger's basic human kindness and empathy after so much cruelty. Please, can you help us? Anywhere has to be better than where we came from. The woman firmly took Lily's hand, using her other arm to scoop up Sarah, who had lost consciousness from exhaustion. Emma clung to Lily's side as the four of them set off, their ragged benefactor leading them towards salvation. I know just the place, my dears. A place of healing where society's castaways can find new purpose. You'll be looked after there as long as you need, I promise. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Lily felt her leaden heart suffused with a glimmer of hope. Their escape from the shattered ruins of their family was truly complete. Now their long road towards recovery and rebirth could finally begin. She clutched Emma and Sarah closer, knowing that no matter what lay ahead, they would remain together and find the love and belonging that had been leached from their lives by their monstrous father and stepmother. As the city's skyline disappeared behind them, Lily whispered a mournful goodbye to their past and all its horrors. But she also smiled at the thought of their fresh start, finally free to chart an unburdened, joyful future with her beloved sisters at her side. As we reflect on their journey, let us remember the words of 1 Corinthians 13 verses 7 to 8 NIV. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. We hope this story inspires you and touches your heart as much as it has ours. Stay tuned for more captivating tales and remember to subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories. Thank you for your support, and may love and faith guide you always. Subscribe now and join us on this incredible journey.